Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I'd firstly like to, I suppose, recognise the important contribution that public servants have made to restoring the nation's finances over the last number of years, and particularly in relation to the most recent Addington Road Agreement, and compliment the Minister on all his work in relation to that area of reform. This bill, I'm surprised to see that it hasn't attracted more attention, and it does concern an issue which attracts much criticism and sparks much debate, the issue of civil service staffing. And perhaps the lack of attention is due to the fact that there is much support across the House in relation to this bill. However, support should not act as an impediment to debate. It would be impossible to keep track of all the criticism levelled at the civil service. Some of the criticism is justified, much of it is, however, not. The enduring image of the civil service is of a conservative, change-adverse, old-fashioned hierarchical institution. The very term service brings organisational comparisons with military service, a fair comparison when one considers the hierarchical structure or the obsession with rank and title. And anyone who's ever worked in a government department, a local authority or a public organisation will concur with that view. To an extent, the bureaucracy and the structure is necessary. How else would the state be able to provide the services and schemes which it does to millions of citizens each and every week? How else would we guarantee fairness and equality of access in a country the size of ours? The primary legislation governing the management of personnel and human resources goes all the way back to 1956. To say that the world in which organisations operate has changed would be a complete understatement. Yet the legislation remains the original source upon which other acts are based. We need to ask ourselves, is our civil service fit for purpose? Is it capable of responding to the needs of our country today? Is it capable of delivering to the various programmes and measures as pledged by a democratically elected government? If the recent economic crisis taught us anything, it is that our civil service, the sections concerned in this instance, were unprepared and were seemingly unaware of the impending trouble. Similarly, the reform of the civil service should not have been dependent on the financial crisis. Any civil service operating at its best should be more flexible and responsive and less adverse to change and properly considered and implemented reform. Another issue which merits serious attention is the balance between specialists and generalist staff. Very often the civil service is criticised for being full of generalists without specialist qualifications. Specialists are important. They bring a knowledge, expertise and experience to a task or challenge that generalists lack. That knowledge can be exceptionally significant, particularly when concerned complex matters that have far-reaching consequences elsewhere. However, specialists can sometimes be too focused, too engrossed in an issue, lacking an ability to view matters in the wider context or from a different point of view, and this is where a generalist is more useful. To arrive at the best possible solution or to design and implement most effective programme or scheme, a good mix of specialists and generalists is needed. Unfortunately, our civil service grapples often without success in achieving this balance. We often hear how a person's skills and qualifications are overlooked and ignored. Those with qualifications, for example, in international relations, sink to social protection, not foreign affairs. Those with experience in agriculture being deployed to arts and heritage, and those with a background in law being sent to health. Notwithstanding this, in the last 3 years, we have seen a number of very welcome developments guided by the Public Service Reform Plan and led by the new Reform and Delivery Office. The very creation of a government department, the Department of Public Expenditure and Reform, is proof of the new approach and the importance being attached to the modernisation of our civil service by the government. Thousands of staff members have been redeployed successfully across the civil service and the country. However, redeployment is only one component. The fact remains that reform will be hampered without tackling the thorny issue of performance management. It is grossly unfair and inequitable to maintain a system whereby staff members who perform the bare minimum, often grudgingly, are rewarded to the same extent, or in some cases more so, than staff who approach their job with vigour and dedication. There are few things more demoralising than to see colleagues who do not put in the effort, who contribute little but complain loudly, receive the same or a higher level of reward. A job well done must be rewarded, and I believe that we need a serious debate and review the performance management in the public sector. This bill is very welcome on account of the move towards greater flexibility, mobility and responsiveness in our civil service. It is an important step, and I look forward to the debate, the deliberations and the discussions on our civil service that it will generate in the Oireachtas and hopefully beyond.